Welcome, everybody, to the Great CEO podcast. My name is Jim Schleckser, and I have another great CEO that we're going to talk to today, Jeff Dewing of iCloud. How are you, Jeff? Nice to see you.
I'm very well, thank you, Jim, and very pleased to be joining you in the UK this afternoon.
Yeah, maybe, Jeff, you could start with just a couple of sentences on what your business does.
That's a tougher question than most would think. So we're in the industry of facilities management, which basically means we look after buildings.
Yep.
There are two types of facilities management. There are what we call hard services and there are soft services. Hard services are the lighting, the air conditioning, the fabric, and so on. Soft services is the cleaning and room booking. So we don't do soft services, we only do hard services. And what we did was we launched our business, which I founded back in 2012, to disrupt. The UK is a £200 billion industry. So we launched purely to disrupt the industry because we felt it was behaving badly. We felt it needed attention. So we started a business with the purpose of showing how to behave in a appropriate way, values-led, with transparency, honesty, and integrity, which was something that was missing. So to do that, we built some technology. I built the technology. I spent 10 years building the technology that wasn't going to solve the problem, but it became an incredible enabler for visibility and transparency. It meant everyone could see everything and you focused on the real problems and not the perceived ones. So essentially the business started in 2012 and then from 2014 to 2017, it grew from 1 million to 70 million turnover in 3 years. It was just phenomenal growth. And essentially our market is early adopters because we do things so radically different to what the industry has done for the last 50 years that it's only the early adopters that will engage. So that's pretty much what we do.
So what makes, it sounds like the difference here is a transparency, which I've had facilities maintenance at various businesses I've run, and it is as opaque as a service can be.
Yeah.
And are there any other competitive advantages of why somebody would pick your firm to do this work versus anybody else they might choose? Because I'm sure there's low bidders out there that'll be like, yeah, we're cheaper.
Of course. I think the question is the golden rule of business. People buy on cost, or they don't buy on value. And the reason they don't buy on value is because they can't measure value until after the fact. Value is always interpreted as an emotion as opposed to a fact. And the problem is people can't measure, don't know how to measure value. I don't want that to sound condescending. It's not meant that way. It's because value is about the ability to truly understand your ROI, but not just monetarily, but it's about how you make people feel, how connected, how engaged the people are. So what our business does that nobody else can do is it attacks outputs and not inputs. And we are held accountable for the outputs. We can't hide. We can't blame the weather. We can't blame some bad facilities manager somewhere. We are entirely accountable for the outcome. So essentially putting ourselves in an accountable position means we tend to behave and more importantly, we perform above what most people will ever achieve.
Got it. So this is elevator uptime availability, HVAC uptime availability, those sort of things we're on the hook for all of that.
All of it.
Yeah. And I think it makes you think differently about the business when you are outcome derived versus input derived, right? Most are managing cost on the input, not so worried about the output. That's not actually what the building owner cares about. It turns out, if they think about it for a few minutes. Yeah. So what percentage of the revenue recurs every year? Do these people sign up and stay for long times or?
So the revenue is 100% recurring every year.
Nice.
Each movement is less than 2 or 3% a year, subject to capital investments from each and every client.
Yep.
The clients are global blue chip clients, and these clients are very secure. The beauty, when I started this business, I had a number of challenges. One was previously I'd spend 60, 70% of my time chasing money, which is not what I love. And it meant that was 60 or 70% of the time I wasn't using growing the business. So when I started this business, I had to come up with solutions that meant, how do I never chase money? And the easy thing was to, one, select the right clients. Two, do not give them credit. And there'll be a lot of pauses out there now, because how do you go and work with a business like KFC, a global brand, and say, I'm not giving you credit?
Wow.
When you have a solution that they want badly, they will agree to anything that is reasonable and rational. So as a result, how did we grow from 1 to 70 million in 3 years when we have no overdrafts, no investments, no loans?
You're customer funded.
Exactly.
Yeah. Lovely. Boy, that's a good trick for all you listening. If you get your customer to fund your business growth, then you've got the model, right?
Absolutely.
As you go from your current scale to maybe even double, which might be your objective, what is the point of constraint? What's the one thing that might get in your way as you continue to grow this business, Jeff?
The business has evolved beyond what we're talking about today. It's now moved into a product, and a product that we've got a global patent on that's about to go global.
Right.
And that product is game changing. No one in the world can do it. We can do it. Only us can do it. We can now predict failure on
Wow.
a piece of equipment before it fails.
Is that with sensors or is that just statistical analysis?
No, the beauty of this is we are IoT.
Yeah.
I set the challenge 5 years ago when we began the journey and said, how do I create the best IoT platform on the planet that gives us more information than IoT could ever give us without using a single sensor? And that was the challenge that we put to a number of very high-tech universities. And after about a year, we came up with a solution, and we've been R&D in it ever since. It hit the market probably 6 months ago.
Nice.
And we're now in dialogue with advanced dialogue with half a dozen major global household name players. If you want to ask what the constraint is, it's the same constraint on any scalable business, and that is money.
Yeah. But it felt like you cracked that with client funding.
We have, in terms of a UK geography and a UK and Ireland geography. But when you're looking at global, people want to order 1 million products off of you. You've got to manufacture those 1 million products. When you're delivering a service, it's a different challenge. So when you're delivering a product, who is going to fund the product?
Yeah.
So you're in a different market altogether, market that we've been unfamiliar with because we've never manufactured before, but now we are. So the one constraint that we have at the moment is our growth is constrained because all of our negotiations with the client funding the product. And that's a lot tougher than when you give a client a credit to give them $1 million.
Interesting. And you're learning how to make product. This is a new skill set for your business. Yeah. How many hours a week do you work, and how do you think about allocating your time?
If I work 20 hours a week, I'm exaggerating.
Wow. Well done.
And how do I allocate my time? It's a really interesting question because this is all part of my evolution as a chief exec over the last sort of 5-10 years. But my team, I spend all of my time simply speaking to and coaching my team and working with my people. And as such, my people have given me 2 titles. They've given me the title of CEO, which they call Chief Energy Officer.
Nice.
And they give me the title of CIO. You'd think because I built all the technology to begin with, that would be why, but it's not. CIO is Chief Inspiration Officer.
Okay. Energy and inspiration.
Absolutely. So all I do is pump people up, and they do all the work. They make incredible decisions. And the reason I'm able to only work 20 hours a week, which is only coaching, is because I did one thing that was probably the most courageous thing I've ever done, but yet the most powerful thing. And that was I gave all my people autonomy, mastery, and purpose.
You read Daniel Pink's book, Drive, didn't you?
I have indeed. I have indeed. And what was interesting is I only got in contact with Daniel Pink's work after I'd behaving that way. And I didn't know that I was behaving that way. But when I then look at the principles of Daniel Pink and then look at how I was behaving, that's exactly how I was behaving.
Wonderful. That's affirming. That's for sure. Just to that point then, Nick, can you name one major responsibility you've delegated to someone else in the last 6 months?
No, because I've been delegating major responsibilities for the last 5 years.
They're already all gone.
There is people say to me, how do I know, Jeff, that I'm on the journey to becoming a great CEO? And I say, I'll ask you one question, which will give you great insight. How many decisions have you made this week or this month? And they will say 20, 50, 100. And I say to them, when you've made no decisions,
there you go.
On a journey to becoming a great CEO, you help your people find the answers. You make no decisions.
That's great. I resonate to this. My first book was Great CEOs Are Lazy. And sounds like you subscribe to some of those ideas as well. So what are 1 or 2 things that you've learned that are central to your CEO approach? You've shared a couple as we've talked here, but are there any others that these are really central to how I do the job?
Yes, I have to be incredibly and unreservedly curious about everything and everybody.
Yeah.
Be curious. Don't try and be the smartest person in the room because you rarely are. It's about that ability to understand. As they say, when you're in a room of 5, 10, 15 people, you're in a meeting. How do you spot the leader? It's the one asking the questions and not giving any answers, because they're the ones that are seeking to understand. They're the ones that are curious, because sometimes the most weird and wonderful ideas come from the least expectant person.
Yeah.
So give people the time to talk. So curiosity is my number one.
Love it.
And the other thing that I've learned is about truly and authentically offering autonomy, give people the ability to apply mastery and ensuring that they clearly understand what they are doing that is far bigger than themselves.
Yeah. Love it. I liken the sort of fake autonomy is you put the cake in the oven and then you peek at it every 5 minutes. It's not real autonomy. You're like, last question. What do you do for fun when you're not doing this?
I play golf 3 times a week.
Nice.
That's my attempt at mastery. I'm trying to get better at something. And I love watching my football team, my soccer team, Arsenal in the Premier League. I love to watch football. But most importantly, I guess the bit I love more than anything is socializing and networking. I love to be among people. And I guess I have one probably unforgiving rule, and that is that I only mix with people that energize me. If people suck my energy, then I distance. You get to meet some incredible people. And again, the curiosity kicks in when you're meeting people. You're curious about what they do, how it makes them tick. And that just gives me so much energy.
Yeah. Love it. They talk about you are the average of the 10 people you spend the most time with. So they're not all uniformly positive and optimistic, and then it's going to show up. Awesome. Jeff, this was a tremendous pleasure. Thank you for taking the time to do this. And we'll see you all next time on the Great CEO Podcast.
Great stuff. Thanks very much, Jim.
Cheers.